Hello, welcome back to another episode of the She Is Well podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Trapasso, registered dietitian specializing in women's hormones and metabolism, helping them lose weight, have more energy, have painless periods. Over on the She Is Well podcast, we talk all things about balancing hormones naturally. We talk about faith, fertility, weight loss, hormones, all of those good things. So definitely make sure to subscribe. And if you're new around here, welcome. So happy to have you. And thank you for tuning in today. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm still trying to figure out the setup of this podcast, like what I want in my background, what I want the background to look like. Right now I have this like weird plant. It's like feathers and flowers. And it's kind of just like a mishmash of things that I didn't want for decor anymore. So they don't even go together. They're just like kind of sitting here, but whatever. My husband, he actually created me he put like a desk down here so that I can record these podcasts, which is so nice of him. Thank you. But I have I don't know if you can see, I have my little dog, Margot. She is sitting, I don't know if you could see this little fur ball right here. She's sitting right behind me. So I'm kind of like up on my chair. She's very needy, but we love her. Today, we're going to be diving into a topic that affects so many women each month, and that is PMS or premenstrual syndrome. Specifically, we're going to explore how nutrition, because yes, what you eat, your nutrition plays a huge role, a super powerful role in easing those frustrating symptoms that come along with PMS and helping you have painless periods. Pain-free periods that you barely even notice. That is what we want. Today, we're going to talk about what PMS is. We're going to talk about practical nutrition tips that you can implement so that you can start supporting your hormones and not have horrible, painful periods anymore and get rid of those PMS symptoms. So if that is something that you're interested in, make sure that you watch until the end, because I'm also going to be sharing an example meal plan or an example day of eating to help you support your hormones during your PMS phase. What exactly is PMS? If you're listening to this podcast right now, you probably already know because you've lived through it, but PMS is a collection of symptoms that show up in your luteal phase or the 10 to 14 days before your period. And these symptoms can include anything from bloating, fatigue, acne, migraines, intense cravings, irritability, mood swings, breast tenderness, anxiety, and that's not an exhaustive list. There are so many more. Insomnia is another common one that women experience during their PMS phase. But while PMS is common, like I said, so many women are experiencing this, it's not normal. It's just something that we're told is normal and to deal with as women, but PMS is a sign that it's your body's way of telling you that something is out of balance. And I say this not only as a dietitian who has studied hormones for years now, but as somebody who has lived through PMS, struggled with PMS, and specifically I had PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is the severe form of PMS. I used to suffer with PMDD, and let me tell you, it was brutal. We're talking 2 weeks out of every month where I could barely function. I would be in my bed, exhausted, deeply emotional, questioning my purpose in life. This was definitely before Jesus, but still, I was struggling to get out of bed. I had hormonal migraines, mood swings, and honestly moments where I just didn't even recognize myself. I didn't know what the point of all of this was. It was just really, honestly, a hard time, and I struggled with it for years. When I brought it up to my doctor, I was offered birth control. That was my only option. I was told that PMS is it's normal. It's something that is really normal for women. It's a sign that my hormones are working properly because I'm having PMS, which is not the case at all, but that's what I was told at the doctor. I asked if they could test my hormones. They said no, which is really honestly common for conventional doctors to not test hormones, especially when you are not like in menopause or perimenopause. They might test them as you get older, but for women who are in their 20s and 30s, it's very uncommon for them to test our hormones. I don't know why, but that's just what I was told. Maybe you'd have a different experience. But honestly, I don't even recommend testing hormones anyway, because if you have all of these symptoms that I'm talking about, if you have PMS, if you have mood swings, if you can't lose weight no matter what you try, all of those symptoms, you have a hormone imbalance, right? And let's just do the steps to bring your hormones back into balance instead of wasting money on the hormone test. Let's do everything, get the foundations down first. And then if still something is going on, we can test then. I always say, let's get the foundations down first, because 9 times out of 10, and this happens with all of my clients, they feel so much better. They feel better. They bring their hormones back into balance, so that then they don't even need to test. I did get my hormones tested, and honestly, I knew what the results were going to be before I even got them back, because I had already been researching hormones and studying hormones at this point. I just really wanted to go to my doctor to get those tests so I could show everybody what happens, and I could show you the process of bringing the hormones back into balance. So this was like 2022. At this point, I think it was like November of 2022 when all of this was happening. Then I just tested my hormones myself. I got them done myself, and honestly, the test was like $500, which is why I say let's just get the foundations done first. You don't need to do that. If after we do everything and there's still something going on, okay, let's test then. But yeah, at my doctor, they told me that everything that I was experiencing was normal. And well, that's probably what they thought. That's probably what they see every single day in their office, is women having these same experiences, coming in, having these painful periods, having PMS, PMDD. That's just what they see. So they're saying that common is normal. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. I mean, every woman around me was experiencing the same thing too. So I was offered birth control, and that is not something that I wanted to do. I am the type of person that wants to take medication as a last resort. I want to do everything naturally. And I had been on birth control in the past, like years before, for the same thing, like for very painful periods. And it just made my symptoms worse, to be honest. So I was like, if I have to suffer with or without, I'm going to just go without the birth control. When they told me that, it was honestly super frustrating, but at this point I already knew that there was something that I could do. I already knew that I could start taking my hormones back into balance myself. I could do it naturally, so it wasn't that frustrating, and I just took matters into my own hands. Like I said, I got my hormones tested myself just so I had the proof and like to show people that yes, they were imbalanced and what happens when they're not anymore. That was just basically for my own personal experiment. Again, not something that everybody has to do. So I took matters into my own hands. I started implementing different nutrition strategies and cycle syncing specifically. And I'm going to tell you right now that everything changed. My symptoms that I was telling you before, like the symptoms of, really serious mood swings, and my periods were so painful where when I did get them, the cramps were so unbearable. I would be throwing up in pain, and all of that went away. I barely feel my periods anymore, which for me, sometimes it's still a shock that I suffered for like 16, 17 years with these painful periods, and I didn't have to. And honestly, that's why I do this. I want to show people that it is possible. We don't have to suffer. We can do things naturally to bring our hormones back into balance. And honestly, it is just so cool that God made our bodies specifically in a way. He designed our bodies in a way to tell us when something is wrong. So if you're having symptoms, that is your body's way of telling you that something is not right, something is out of balance, and we can do something to bring it back into balance. That is why I'm so passionate about sharing this. If I had known all of these strategies years ago, I could have saved myself so much pain, probably a few arguments with my husband, if you know what I mean. Like, I just didn't know how much my cycle was influencing my life. I did know that obviously 2 weeks out of the month I was in my bed after work. I would have to call off school, call off of work. But once I started doing all of these strategies that I'm going to share with you today, and I share on this podcast every week, everything changed. No more symptoms, no more PMS, no more PMDD. So let's get into the nutrition tips to ease your PMS, especially in your luteal phase, those 10 to 14 days before your period. So if you're new to all of this and you have no idea what a luteal phase is, let me give you a quick recap. So we have 4 phases of our menstrual cycle. So our menstrual cycle is not just our period. It's not just when you're bleeding and you're not bleeding. It is the whole month from when you get your period to when you get your next period. And throughout that month, your hormones are fluctuating up and down all throughout that month. So we have the first phase, which is our menstrual phase, which is when you get your period. You have the second phase, which is your follicular phase, which is right after your period. Then you have ovulation, which is about halfway through your cycle. And then we have the luteal phase, which is about the 10 to 14 days before you get your next period. So the luteal phase is what we call the PMS phase, because this is where you get the PMS symptoms. And the reason that this is happening is because during the first half of your cycle, where you have your menstrual phase, this is your period, all of your hormones are at their lowest. The next phase, the follicular phase, your estrogen starts to rise to start supporting your ovulation, which is about halfway through your cycle. Ovulation is like the main event of your cycle. This is what your body has been preparing for. If you didn't know, your whole body was designed to get pregnant. That is the goal of your hormones every single month as a woman. If you have a period right now, that is the goal of your body. Even if you are not specifically trying for a baby, that is what your body is trying to do every month. So it's so cool how our hormones fluctuate. Ovulation, your hormones are at their peak. Your estrogen and your testosterone are at your peak. Did you know that your face actually changes? Your face actually gets more symmetrical so that you look more attractive to attract a mate to have a baby. I mean, if that's not the coolest thing ever. You also have the most amount of energy during this time. It's just your body's way of preparing you to have a baby. So after ovulation, if you don't get pregnant, what happens is your estrogen will start to drop and your progesterone is supposed to pick up. So in your luteal phase, progesterone should be higher than your estrogen. Well, we live in a society today that is so estrogen dominant, or so going against our progesterone, basically, where a lot of women have more estrogen than progesterone during this time. And that is when we experience all of the painful symptoms. So that is why we get PMS. That is why we have the mood swings, the bloating, the intense cravings, is because our estrogen and our progesterone are out of balance in this. That's what we don't want. We want our progesterone to be higher than our estrogen. So there are certain specific things that you can do every single month. You could do every week out of your month to support the hormones where they're at, like with our nutrition, with our exercise, making sure that we are not pushing our bodies when our hormones are low. We can make sure that we are giving our body the right nutrients at the right times so that our hormones can be supported. Like in your follicular phase, when your estrogen is rising, let's support that estrogen because we need the estrogen. But when we get to ovulation, let's get rid of excess estrogen. And when we get to the luteal phase, let's support our progesterone because that's what needs to be supported. And when you're doing that, when you are supporting your hormones at the right time, you're going to experience painless periods. You're not going to have horrible symptoms. Any symptoms that you do have will be so mild, you won't even notice them. Your periods are going to be so much better. So that whole thing that I was talking about, supporting your hormones where they're at in their cycle with your nutrition, with your exercise, with your lifestyle, that's called cycle syncing. And I did do a whole episode on cycle syncing, so you can definitely check that out after this. But specifically today, we're talking about PMS. What are the nutrients specifically to help with PMS? So let's get into that. So the first one is going to be magnesium, and magnesium is a PMS powerhouse. It can help ease cramps, reduce bloating, improve mood. It is involved in over 500 functions in the body. So when you have low magnesium, it affects almost everything. Plus, magnesium is depleted by stress. So I don't know anybody that doesn't have stress. So it's one of the most common deficiencies that we get is magnesium. So we want to support magnesium and replenish magnesium in our body through things like leafy greens, peanut butter, pumpkin seeds, and dark chocolate. Yes, you have those chocolate cravings maybe for a reason. So definitely eating more leafy greens, peanut butter, pumpkin seeds, and dark chocolate. during the 10 to 14 days before your period is really going to help ease those symptoms. Then next is vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 is amazing for mood-related PMS symptoms. So if you're somebody that's struggling really bad with mood swings, anxiety, all those things, vitamin B6 is going to be really helpful for you. It helps regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin, which is why it can reduce those mood swings. Serotonin, it's our happy neurotransmitter. It makes us happy. We want to support that so it can reduce those mood swings, reduce irritability, and also helps with breast tenderness as well. So you can get vitamin B6 from turkey, bananas, and potatoes. So if you're somebody that craves carbs before your period, if you have really bad carb cravings, it might be because you don't have enough vitamin B6 or magnesium too, which is the last mineral that we talked about. So trying to get things like potatoes, bananas, and then adding turkey in to get that vitamin B6 before your period. The next nutrient is calcium, and some researchers believe that PMS symptoms are caused by, or at least severely worsened by, a calcium deficiency. Foods like Greek yogurt, leafy greens, and broccoli can help with adding more calcium, which can help with cramping, anxiety, and irritability. Calcium has a calming effect on our nervous system, which is key during this time because we are less resilient to stress during this time. So stress affects us more. And when we're stressed, our hormone cortisol spikes, which severely depletes our progesterone and, like I said, magnesium, which is needed in over 500 functions of our body. But if you're somebody that's very stressed, adding more calcium can help with that. So Greek yogurt, leafy greens, and broccoli might be helpful. Vitamin D is the next nutrient that we need, and vitamin D works hand in hand with calcium and has been shown to reduce PMS symptoms, especially mood-related ones like the irritability or even depressive feelings. Low vitamin D levels are incredibly common, especially if you live somewhere that has really long winters like me. So where you can get vitamin D is from sunlight, egg yolks, fatty fish, so like salmon, fortified dairy, or ask your doctor if you are low. That is something your doctor will test for you. You might just need a supplementation, so just asking your doctor if that's something that you need. The last nutrient is going to be vitamin E. And vitamin E is an antioxidant that supports overall hormone health and has been shown to reduce breast tenderness and cramping during the luteal phase. It's found in sunflower seeds, almonds, avocados, and spinach. So adding a handful of sunflower seeds to your salad or having a small snack of almonds is a really easy way to incorporate vitamin E. So now I want to show you how easy it is to get these nutrients in one day. So let's say for breakfast you have an avocado and egg toast and you add some spinach in there. So you get some of those leafy greens, you get the eggs with the vitamin D, you get some avocado for the vitamin E. For lunch, you have some grilled salmon salad with roasted potatoes. So you're getting some of that vitamin D from the fatty fish, potatoes for that vitamin B. For a snack, maybe you have some Greek yogurt with dark chocolate and banana. So that has vitamin B6, calcium, and magnesium in it. And you could even add some like almond butter in there or peanut butter in there as well to add even a little bit extra boost. And then for dinner, you have turkey and veggie stir fry with broccoli, mushrooms, and quinoa. So you have turkey, vitamin B6, broccoli, that calcium, mushrooms have vitamin D, and then quinoa for some complex carbohydrates, which is very important during your luteal phase. Those are really easy meals that you can incorporate that give your body specific nutrients to help alleviate those PMS symptoms. So when you start doing this, when you start giving your body what it needs, your hormones will be supported where they're at, and you're not going to be experiencing those horrible symptoms that we've been talking about this whole episode. So just to recap, we talked about how PMS is common, but it's totally not normal, and you don't have to keep suffering through it every single month. With the right nutrients like magnesium, vitamin B6, calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin E, you can start giving your body what it needs to function the way that God designed it to function. Okay? If you are experiencing any symptoms right now, that was the way that God designed your body to tell you that something is wrong and tell you your body just needs a little bit of more support. If you're wondering how to actually put this into practice, try using that sample day of eating that I shared with you as a guide. You don't have to be perfect with it. You can just start adding a couple of these foods before you get your period, and you just build from there. So start adding like a few foods, like 1 to 2, and then just slowly add in more foods as you can. It's really that simple. Any little thing that you can do will be supporting your hormones and will be helping alleviate more symptoms. If you're ready to go deeper with this, if you found this to be helpful and you feel like, yes, I know that there's something wrong with my hormones, I know that there's something deep down, I know that this isn't right, I'm having those symptoms, so that must be my body's way of telling me that something's out of balance, and you think that cycle syncing is so interesting, because that was totally me when I first heard about it or first learned about it. And I promise you, it is not as complicated as it sounds. Definitely check out that podcast episode, Cycle Syncing for Busy Women, where I dive deeper into what cycle syncing is. Or I have my course, Cycle Savvy, which takes all of the guesswork out of it for you. So if you just know that you want to get started with cycle syncing today, it has everything you need in there. It goes deep into each phase of your cycle. What's going on with your hormones? What's normal symptoms? What's not normal? Why am I experiencing symptoms? It has a 4-week cycle meal plan, a recipe book. It has food guides that you could just pull up to know whatever phase you're in, what foods should I be eating. It has an exercise guide that shows you the same thing, like shows you what exercises are the right exercises for where you're at, so that you can be supporting your hormones and bringing them back into balance, which is ultimately going to help you have painless periods. It's going to help you be able to boost up your metabolism, because estrogen and progesterone are involved directly into your metabolism. So this can help with your metabolism. It helps with fertility. It helps with acne, mood swings, bloating, all of those symptoms that we've been kind of talking about this whole time. Cycle syncing will help with that. So you can check out my course. It's called Cycle Savvy. And thank you again so much for being here today. If you found this helpful, share it with somebody. If you know somebody that experiences really painful periods, definitely share this with them. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a review. Thank you, and have a great day.